Yeah. As always in negotiations, you never know when they are successfully concluded. We are aiming at the 9th of July. It's a huge task because we have the largest trade volume globally between the European Union and the United States, 1.5 trillion euros, very complex and a huge quantity. Indeed, what we are aiming at is an agreement in principle. Because, such a volume in 90 days, an agreement in detail, impossible. An agreement in principle. That is also what the UK did, and as far as I'm informed, there are only 2 countries so far worldwide that have concluded with an agreement in principle.
Thank you, TV2, and we have very short time, so please, it needs to be quick.
Hi, Lisa Hesselund from TV2 Denmark. I would like to ask you both a question for you, Ms. von der Leyen. I would like to ask you, we see both Denmark and the EU being under growing pressure from the US government on trade, on defense, geopolitically, on Greenland. So I would like to ask you, how are you going to assert your interest, the European interest, when Washington, the US government, also sees the Arctic as a point for their very important sphere of influence, and also in the light of them not being afraid of putting pressure on Denmark and on the EU. And for you, Mette Frederiksen, I would like to ask you, you're both standing here, both of you, as very strong proponents, supporters of Ukraine, but what are you concretely going to do to push through with the agenda on Ukraine membership, when you know very well that not all EU countries are on the same line, and every country can put down a veto during this whole process? So what are you concretely going to do to, make sure that this is not going to end up as an empty pledge? Thanks.
So, of course, the Arctic is of growing importance. Always had an importance, but with climate change and all of a sudden waterways that are accessible, it has a completely new, increased importance. Not to speak of the critical raw materials there, not to speak about the fishing opportunities that are there. So, yes, it is absolutely time to focus more on the Arctic. I think what is necessary that we as Europeans develop an Arctic strategy, so a comprehensive approach on how we look at the region, and we could not have a better advisor than Denmark, because this is basically your neighborhood. And therefore, this is one of the regions of crucial importance.
Well, can I just finalize with some words on the question about enlargement? Because you're totally right that the majority of the member states in the European Union are on the same page when it comes to enlargement and Ukraine. But there are some challenges in front of us in finding the concrete steps forward. That's some of the things we are going to discuss today. We had a discussion about it last week in the European Council, so I don't have any concrete things for you today, but it's something we are working on. I would like to say that for me it is extremely impressive that a country in a war is able not only to produce better and faster and cheaper than the rest of us when we're talking about, for example, drones, but also on the path to a membership of the European Union, they are able to make reforms and concrete steps forward, even though they are at war. So I think they are doing their part. There are still a lot of decisions that has to be made before, a real membership, but they are really doing a lot of their own homework. Now it's time for Europe to do the same. And then finally, I just wanted to thank you, Ursula, and other good, strong European colleagues for the broad support that we have had in the question about Greenland. So I think for many people in Greenland, but in the entire Kingdom of Denmark, it feels safe when you really can feel that the rest of Europe stands together with you in this strange and difficult situation.
Thank you. That will conclude the press conference. Please stay seated until leaders have exited. Thank you.